Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
9 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour is breaking news. The Supreme Court has released an opinion on the January 6th riot defendants. CNN's Paula Reed breaks down the ruling.
The Supreme Court is limiting prosecutors' ability to bring obstruction charges in cases related to January 6th. Now, this is significant not only for the people who have been charged with obstruction related to the January 6th attack, but also potentially for the former president who faces 2 charges related to obstruction.
Vice President Kamala Harris is in Salt Lake City today for a fundraiser. This is the Biden-Harris campaign's 3rd visit to Park City this election cycle. Harris's visit comes the day after CNN's presidential debate. She's been defending President Biden's performance to ABC News.
You know, there was a slow start but a strong finish. And the bottom line is this. Let us not decide the outcome of who's going to be president of the United States based on a 90-minute debate.
The Deseret News reports Air Force 2 is set to touch down around 2 o'clock this afternoon and take off again around 5. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 154 right now. We're at 39,319. Coming up, a beautiful day in store, a little cooler than it's been. We'll check KSL weather next. KSL News Time, 9:02.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Do you know why more homeowners choose Any Hour Services for help when it's time to replace their air conditioners? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and the main reasons people choose Any Hour Services is because of our people, processes, and convenience. People tell us all the time that there's just something different about having an Any Hour Services technician in their home. That's why our over 23,000 Google reviews mention our technicians by name. Another reason is our 7-step install process that we call the Any Hour Difference. It all starts with a needs analysis where you explain what you like and dislike about your current system. This helps us design and size a system that fits your comfort and efficiency preferences as well as your home's airflow requirements. As for convenience, most of our installs are completed in one day. We also have flexible, no-money-down financing options available, even if you've been told no in the past. So if you've been thinking about getting a new air conditioner, call Any Hour Services and schedule a free estimate today. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
The IRS deadline has come and gone. So do you owe money to the IRS? If so, you need an ally. Whether you owe the IRS $6,000 or $600,000, whether your tax problems are personal or business, the professionals at Allies Tax Relief are ready to step in and negotiate your fresh start with the IRS. Here's a happy customer of Allies Tax Relief.
Before calling Allies Tax Relief, I feared the IRS would take all of my assets. I owed them over $562,000. Thankfully, I was referred to Allies and called them for help. They ultimately saved my life from uncertainty. Allies negotiated my giant tax debt to an unbelievable $1,500. They are professionals and they fight the fight for their clients.
Allies Tax Relief will protect your assets from being seized and your paycheck from being garnished. Call right now for your free consultation. 800-296-0772. That's 800-296-0772. Or visit AlliesTaxRelief.com.
The Management Minute is a service of the MBA program in the John M. Huntsman School of Business at Utah State University. As someone who's dyslexic and the parent of an autistic child, this topic is important to me: neurodiversity. When we talk about diversity and inclusion in the workplace, this should go high on the list. People who are autistic, dyslexic, or have ADHD or other cognitive differences often need workplace accommodations to thrive. But when they thrive, their work can be extremely creative, powerful, imaginative. They see what others cannot in a way that brings value to complex problem solving. But they also have limitations. Good leaders find ways to build competitive advantage with neurodiverse teams. Learn more about neurodiversity with an MBA degree from Utah State University. Go to utahstatemba.com. That's utahstatemba.com. I'm Scott Hammond. Hope to see you in one of our classes.
We have emergency traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Heather Kelly.
This starts in on the Ogden area, southbound I-15 coming out of far west all the way down to 24th Street in Ogden. We still have 3 left lanes blocked. Only 1 right lane is open. Traffic is at a complete standstill for those 3 miles, so you're better off exiting the freeway or just don't even get on until 24th Street in Ogden. And then as you continue southbound, you have more stopped traffic from I-80 West down to 1300 South, where Highway Patrol had to remove a bunch of debris from the freeway. They just now are releasing traffic at 1300 South in downtown. Thinking of a kitchen remodel? Durden's matches every competitor's price, and you get rebates on single appliances or whole kitchen appliance packages. Durden's also offers next-day delivery on 5th South and Bountiful or DurdensAppliance.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
It's going to be a little cooler today with highs in the upper 80s. Most of that rain has moved out, so we'll have sunshine. Right now, it is 70 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
It is a Friday, and typically you want to kick your feet back up and relax and just enjoy, maybe watch a movie this evening, but we have got a huge show for you today.
Nobody's kicking back today, Dave.
No one's kicking back. In fact, Greg Skordas, it's just the most perfect timing ever. The Supreme Court just had a couple of decisions drop for those that are keeping track. Chevron, homeless encampments. We're going to go in depth
and
with
obstruction as it relates to the January 6th rioters. Another one that just came out just a few minutes ago. We'll have fun with that one.
Greg, are you keeping track of all these?
Yeah,
because
I've got them all here.
You're going to just have an open floor to walk us through what these mean, how they affect Utah. But it's hard not to talk about last night's debate. The CNN presidential debate happened last night. Now, typically debates will bring massive viewership. Somewhere between 60 and 70 million people will watch. In fact, the previous Biden-Trump debate back in 2020, 40% of households in America were tuned into the debate at one point.
And you have to imagine that we haven't seen the numbers yet, but my guess is last night would have huge numbers, in part because it's Trump again. He's back. And also because it may be the only debate we have, or at least one of very few. And it's very early. We haven't have the conventions yet. We don't even know that they're the candidates. Of course we do, but usually it comes after that.
And this very well could be the last debate. We wanted to reach out and get some analysis from ABC News. Joining us right now from ABC News is elections analyst Jeffrey Skelly. Jeff, let's just jump right into it. How did both candidates perform?
Well, I don't think anyone would say that either candidate did particularly well. However, I do think that the main takeaway here is that maybe Biden lost the debate more than Trump won it. But nonetheless, the reactions to the debate have certainly suggested that Democrats are worried, upset, concerned about how President Biden performed. Basically, that I think their main concern is that he didn't do anything to alleviate the concerns that many Americans have about his physical and mental fitness to do the job. If anything, his sort of halting performance may have only inflamed those concerns.
What were some of the specific things that have stood out during the debate, or as people are looking back, both with Biden and Trump, maybe a couple of examples that stand out the most?
Sure. I mean, I think for Biden, the thing that's going to be played over and over again is early on in the debate when he sort of lost his train of thought and sort of stumbled around and then ended up giving a somewhat nonsensical answer. And then Trump said something along the lines of, well, I'm not really sure what he just said, or I don't understand what he just said. And that's that really, I think that was like 12 minutes in or something like that. And from then on, you saw a lot of chatter among people saying that they were hearing from Democrats who were like, oh, no, this is a disaster. Now, to be clear, Biden did recover at that point, and he seemed to sort of get his footing afterward. But the problem for him is that will be replayed over and over again. For Trump, he definitely a number of times there were questions that he essentially chose to ignore or talked around. He was asked about his behavior on January 6th and the behavior of his supporters who stormed the Capitol, and he very much tried to avoid answering that question. He also very much mostly avoided answering the question of whether or not he'd accept the election results in November. So that's very much in keeping with his past behavior, but those are sort of the obvious takeaways to me.
One of the things that was unique to this debate was the moderators didn't do a lot of pushing back or fact-checking live during the debate. They would ask the question and then would largely just let the candidates answer. What is your analysis as you were looking at it from a fact-checking lens?
Well, there were certainly a lot of untruths said on the stage. My understanding from sort of the broad fact-checking situation is that both candidates had issues. Trump had more in terms of the things he said. This is part and parcel with Trump. We've seen this before. But I do think the format, the fact that there wasn't that much pushback, if any, to some of the statements made by the candidates, that could be problematic because, look, if people aren't following or aren't out there reading about people who are trying to fact check the candidates, they may just sort of take what they say as true without thinking it through. Now there's going to be a definite partisan viewpoint to that. Democrats would sort of automatically assume that anything Trump says is not right, and a lot of Republicans would assume that anything Biden says is not right. But for anyone watching who isn't sort of in either camp, and look, most people identify with one party or the other, but there are a lot of people out there who aren't happy with their choices, who view both candidates unfavorably. The double haters is what we've been calling them. And if any of them were watching, they tend to be less politically engaged, but the ones who were watching, they may not have sort of gotten that secondary information that's important for understanding the context of what the candidates were claiming.
We're speaking with ABC News election analyst Jeffrey Skelly, and obviously the personal attacks started to come out, but oddly enough, I want to play a little bit of a soundbite of one of the odder personal attacks that happened during the debate and then get your reaction.
And by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
He's a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap.
Yeah.
8.
Never.
But I have, how many?
I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
Hey, let's
not act like children.
President Trump, we're going to turn.
Let's not act like children.
That was one of the stranger interactions, fighting over their golf game, but that was not the only personal attack that happened.
Yes, talk about a way to really get in touch with people is to talk about your golf game on the stage. It was not a good moment in terms of just what's important in American politics and policy issues and trying to understand what's going on. So the personal attacks, it's sort of I guess where our politics have gone to some extent. I mean, I do think the sort of the temperature of the kind of statements people make has gotten hotter over time, or at least in recent times, I should say. Throughout the entire history of the U.S., there have certainly been very terrible things said about candidates and political campaigns. But at least in terms of recent times, it's sort of in keeping with where things have gone.
Does this move the needle at all in the polls?
Things are very polarized. I would not expect, some sort of dramatic shift. But the thing is, any small movement could matter because things are so politically competitive in this country. Small movements still matter.
But this was not just a bad first debate. I mean, everyone, even the Democrats, are saying it was a bit of a disaster. And I appreciate what you said, and you're absolutely right about the history of first debates. But this may end up being the only debate, and if this is where the Democrats land, I can understand, and I suppose you can too, their current tension, the current discussion that's being had within that party about whether or not we even shift gears at this late stage.
Yes, no, you're absolutely right. We're sort of in an unusual, we are in an unusual situation here. We've never had a general election debate for president this early in the cycle. So, yes, it could be the only debate because there is one scheduled for September 10th. However, that's a long time from now. And usually what's been the case in the past is that if a president had a bad first debate, 2 or 3 weeks later, they had another shot at rebounding. And often that's what happened. They, or at least in terms of their poll numbers, in terms of how people were taking in their performance, they were like, oh, they did better. But Biden's not going to have that opportunity. And you do wonder after the first debate if Democrats would even want him to go back up there. I guess he just sort of compounds the issues. At this point, he has all the delegate support. There's not going to be some shift at the convention without him basically coming out and saying that and making that decision. So could that happen? I mean, I wouldn't rule it out. I don't think it's likely, but I would not rule it out, especially in the aftermath of that debate performance.
ABC News election analyst Jeffrey Skelly, thank you. Coming up next, we will talk to Mara Carabello, who hosts KSL at night. She's a political consultant, has done a ton of debate prep in the past. Yesterday, she said the biggest thing she will be looking for is the nonverbal messaging that came from both the candidates.
Which roads will slow you down?
And how to avoid them.
With traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the 9s, KSL is a welcome backseat driver.
I'm Ricky Neese.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth.
We have you covered.
On KSL News Radio.
So my wife and I just moved, and now we have to figure out all the new electrical stuff in our house. And sure enough, we don't have an EV charger in the new house, and I'm definitely going to call Master Electrical Service to help me with that. Master Electrical Service has some exciting news to answer. You've trusted them since 1954, but they have some big news. They've joined Mountain Home Services. And I can tell you, I can speak from experience. Mountain Home Services has been fantastic. They helped me with my furnace. They installed my furnace. They've kept it up to date and cleaned and serviced it for years. And Mountain Home Services does that. They help with your HVAC, your heating, your air, your plumbing. And because they've joined with Master Electrical Service, they still carry over that upfront pricing guarantee. Now, what that means is when you call them out and ask for a bid, they're going to honor that bid. So if it takes a little longer, if it's a little more difficult than they had anticipated, they're still going to honor that bid. No hidden fees, 100% satisfaction guarantee. Go ahead and reach out to Mountain Home Services by going to their website, mountainhomeutah.com. That's mountainhomeutah.com. Or, of course, you can give them a call at 801-543-2222. That's 801-543-2222.
Hi, friends. Dan, the Laptop Man here from PC Laptops. I get a lot of emails with feedback from customers. Here's one. Dear Dan, I just had the best experience ever. I bought a computer from Shane at your State Street store. I asked several what I thought were really stupid questions. Shane was super courteous and made me feel comfortable through the whole process. People need to understand how important it is to support a local company, especially when your experience is so good. PC Laptops really does love me. Signed, Satisfied. I love hearing feedback like that. It really just gives me the chills. It's the whole reason why I got into the computer business in the first place. You can get a brand new PC Laptops desktop, and they start at only $29 a month. And it comes with a lifetime warranty. That means if anything goes wrong, we're going to take care of you. Just check us out at PCLaptops.com. That's PCLaptops.com. At PC Laptops, we really do love you.
Emergency traffic brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app, and we still have 4 miles of nearly stopped traffic southbound I-15 just after you come off of 1800 North in Far West all the way down to 24th Street in Ogden. It's due to a multi-vehicle crash. Originally, 3 left lanes were blocked for almost an hour. Now just 2 left lanes are blocked. They have 2 right lanes getting through, so traffic is starting to crawl instead of being completely stopped. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Honey, hello, honey. This has to stop.
Mowing the lawn? I can't. It grows too fast.
You planted grass in our bedroom.
Yeah, the green is a great compliment to the blue walls.
You planted grass in the hall and the kitchen, too.
I know. I love grass.
Yeah, I love grass, too, but not everywhere.
Does that mean I have to get rid of the riding mower, too? She handles great down the hallway.
Mom warned me there'd be days like this.
Grass doesn't belong everywhere. So now Utah Water Savers offers an incentive plan to replace your grass with water-efficient landscaping. Earn as much as $3 for every square foot of lawn replaced. Register at utahwatersavers.com and learn what incentives are available in your area. And if you thought money didn't grow on trees, guess again. Add trees to your project from a pre-approved list and you'll enjoy a tree bait. Reducing water use is one of the most impactful long-term changes you can make. So start at utahwatersavers.com. utahwatersavers.com.
Troy, I'm a bit biased, but I boldly believe Bish's boasts the best bunch of beloved customers in the business.
That's a bit braggadocious and verbose, but I believe every boast about our beautifully big-hearted brood of RV buying Bish's family.
Buddy, we are beyond #bless.
Which is why we're throwing a huge customer appreciation sale right now.
We're giving our customers the biggest thank you possible with the lowest pricing of the season that already includes prep and dealer fees.
Get all kinds of new RVs with payments starting under $149 per month on approved credit.
Start shopping now at Bish's RV/RV Search. And how about 90 days of all play, no pay OAC?
You'll also get a free 1-year Bish Fix membership with any RV purchase. Your fast track to RV service repairs.
Plus, we're giving you an additional $1,000 towards your used travel trailer or fifth wheel trade-in now through June 29th.
Don't miss the customer appreciation sale happening now at Bish's RV in Salt Lake and American Fork, where memories begin.
OAC based on 20% down, 8.99% APR for 180 months. Stock number 79365 and 80972. Subject to prior sale. See dealer for details.
Encounter an out-of-this-world lunar landscape at Craters of the Moon during its 100th birthday celebration beginning in May. There's nothing like it on Earth. Learn more at visitidaho.org.
For the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, the Supreme Court is making it harder to charge Capitol riot defendants with obstruction, a charge that has also been brought against former President Donald Trump. Second, Vice President Kamala Harris is in Park City today. She will be attending a fundraiser for the Biden campaign. And third, a massive international roaming outage is affecting Americans traveling outside the country right now. AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon say customers are having issues making calls, sending messages, and using data. Right now, downtown, it's 70 degrees. Back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
David Dujanovic.
Last night's CNN presidential debate wrapped up. We haven't seen the numbers yet, how many people watched, but this is likely the only debate, possibly the only debate between President Biden and former President Trump. Filling in for Debbie Dujanovic today is Greg Skordas. This is the second time this week I get you. That's great news for me.
It's fun for me. I love it. I enjoy being with you. And you're right. This might be the only debate. There's another one scheduled for September. Another thing that was unique about it, though, Dave, is it's the first debate that we've had before the convention, before we even have the candidates selected. It's the earliest presidential debate I think we've ever had.
And I do wonder a little bit why that was the case. Because it is early and the election is not until November. But I was having a conversation with Mara Carabello yesterday, and she's a host of KSL at Night, a political consultant, has done a ton of debate prep. And one of the things she said she would be looking for is the nonverbal messaging between the two candidates. Now, for anybody that has watched it last night, you're probably not alone. They expect probably 35 to 40% of households in all of America had that debate turned on.
Number. Huge number.
That's like Super Bowl numbers.
Right, yep.
Those are incredible numbers.
As it should be. It's an important year.
It is. And when there is only likely one debate or maybe even just two, then each one is more important. So Mara joining us right now. It's going to be very easy to focus on some of the the debate itself and the stories that were told, the fights over each other's golf handicap and who can drive further. That was super strange. That's super weird. And then President Biden had a number of stumbles. But you said you were looking for some of the nonverbal cues. So can you walk us through how you viewed this debate?
Yeah, I love that we're talking about this because it's such an important source of our information gathering. So let me just illustrate the difference. Let's say you were one of the few people that didn't see it, didn't listen to the news, and all you did was read 2 transcripts of what was said. Okay, you have an opinion, and you may even say, and you didn't hear anyone's tone. That would be a very different outcome than what we saw last night. I mean, with no exceptions, the Democrats included, we all said that Biden came up short. Well, what are we using to describe how short he came up? Well, his voice was raspy, that mile-long stare, the open jaw. Like, it was, if you're a Democrat, it was stressful to watch last night. And again, that's not what he said. That's a test for how he looked and how strong he looked and how certain he looked. We talked about, if you noticed and you were watching, when they often did side-by-sides, they kept both candidates on the screen so we could not only see the candidate speaking, but we could see the man next to him and what his reactions were. Biden had a lot to critique. He looked old. He looked spacey. He sometimes had weird reactions. You weren't sure what his face was doing. Contrarily, Trump leaned in. He looked stronger. Trump does have a tendency to smirk, which often reinforces feelings we have about his smugness and his sanctimoniousness. I want to point out the criticisms. Today, a lot of people, if you're criticizing Trump, you're probably criticizing his accuracy. If you're criticizing Biden, though, you're criticizing that, does he have what it takes? Is he too old? And I'll tell you, most behavioral studies say the nonverbal, how we felt, will win the day.
And Mara, the last 2 times we've seen Biden sort of come out of the chute included the State of the Union and his response to special counsel not charging him with the document case and saying, well, we're not charging him because he's just kind of a goofy old man. He came out very strong, and I think the Democrats were impressed with him and pleased with how he responded. But that preparation, that assertiveness just wasn't there last night for some reason. And I'm wondering, is it him? Is it his people that are just not getting him to the fore the way they should?
Well, so you're so right. I mean, he stood the mark for his other big tests. I think what we learned is if we thought there would be another debate, if you are Biden's preppers, you're crazy to have that rematch again. And Greg, I think that the stressful news, if you're a Biden fan, is I do think his preppers are good, and he knows the moment. I mean, this is the most experienced politician we had, and he couldn't get there. Now, they're saying a few things today. They're saying he had a cold. They are they're really talking about, well, they're deflecting on his performance. But one of the things I've never seen before is in the round of spin today, you have some Democratic leaders like Claire McCaskill who are just saying that was utter failure. Greg, the reason I'm bringing it up is you mentioned something that matters so much, which is what is our expectation. President Biden, exceeded our expectations during the State of the Union. Last night, he did not meet even his own party's expectations.
How forgiving are viewers and listeners when you do see a performance that falls short?
So how I'm going to answer that question is, if you're a political strategist, June doesn't even exist when you're in October. The shelf life on our memory, I'm talking about undecided. Those of us who came in and had a dog in the fight, we're going to stay with our guy. Because this still reinforced for all of us, we don't want either choice, which is a different discussion and a different equation. But we don't like either choice. But effectively, I think you can wipe this out. Voters have very short memories, and maybe this is one of the reasons the 2 major campaigns agreed to a June, but October is so far away in campaign land.
Mara Carabello, thank you for joining us from KSL at night. And I would like to expound a little bit more on that in our next segment, Greg. We're going to talk to Jason Perry of the Hinckley Institute of Politics. Since this was the earliest presidential debate in history, there's still a lot of time left in the election cycle. Can the Biden campaign recover from a lackluster performance?
Yeah, and if you look at the media response to that, I mean, every station is saying how bad it was. So I think even people who didn't watch the debate will go into November, October, September and say, boy, Biden was awful in the debate. I mean, I agree with Mara. I think she should have been Biden's advisor before he walked in there. But I also think that people might remember this a little more than we're giving them credit.
And you do have videos and campaign ads and a lot of money that you can remind people over and over again. We'll talk to Jason Perry of the Hinckley Institute of Politics next.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story is a developing one. The U.S. Supreme Court has issued a ruling limiting obstruction charges brought against some of the January 6th defendants. ABC's Terry Moran is outside the Supreme Court breaking down the ruling.
This is a potential win for this defendant, a man who stormed the Capitol on January 6th and was charged with this obstruction of an official proceeding crime. And for those other defendants, perhaps even including Donald Trump. I want to say potential because how this is applied matters. But here's the bottom line. This law was originally written to address financial and business crimes passed in the wake of the Enron scandal. And the first part of it says that whoever alters, destroys, mutilates, or conceals a record, a document, or other object, and then it says, or otherwise obstructs an official proceeding. And the question was, are these crimes limited to documents and records, as the first clause suggests, or does the otherwise say any kind of obstruction of an official proceeding, including storming the Capitol, counts? In a 6-3 opinion written by Chief Justice John Roberts, Roberts says you can't transform this statute that has to deal with documents and business crime and the like into an all-purpose catch-all obstruction of justice, obstruction of official proceedings count. So it's a win for Mr. Joseph Fisher, the man who stormed the Capitol and brought this case.
Read more about the case on our website, kslnewsradio.com. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 101 right now. That's 0.25%. We're at 39,265. Coming up, today will be a little cooler than it's been the last few days. We'll check KSL weather next. KSL News Time, 9:32. Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Let me tell you, folks, about my journey, and I'll call it a journey with Salt Lake City fat loss. They told me early on when I told them I got to lose some weight. I got to lose a lot of weight, actually. They said, we have the secret to lose up to a pound of fat every day. I thought, I've never heard of that. I've never seen those kind of results. I love what you're saying, though. And they told me, many clients will lose 20 to 30 pounds in just a month or two. Well, I went on the program, and in 2 months, 60 days, I lost 57 pounds. And my goodness, I feel so much better, moving better on the pickleball court. That was a huge win for me. So if you're interested in losing some weight safely and naturally without surgery, without injections, then give Salt Lake City Fat Loss a call. Reach out to them online. They'll give you a free consultation. They'll explain to you what their program looks like. All you have to do is go to slcfatloss.com to schedule that free consultation. You can do it in person or virtually. Just go to slcfatloss.com.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. This year has gone by so fast. Are you keeping track of your accomplishments? When was the last time you took a moment to celebrate your wins? When life goes by so fast, it can be easy to lose track of your goals and feel like you're spinning out of control. That's where BetterHelp comes in. Therapy can help you take a look at your progress and set realistic goals for the next 6 months. Therapy is for everyone, because everyone deserves to be the best version of themselves. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's totally online, convenient, and flexible. Just fill out a brief questionnaire, get matched with a licensed therapist, and switch therapists anytime. Take a moment. Visit betterhelp.com/ABC Radio today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/ABC Radio.
Hey, Benjamin, we've got a surprise for you.
What?
You have a brother. A $100 bill just like you.
Hey, I'm Ben.
What?
We just got him for joining America First Credit Union and opening a new checking account.
And you're going to live together at America First.
What?
This is nice.
For a limited time, new members get a $100 cash bonus when they open a checking account or $50 when they open a youth checking account. So head to AmericaFirst.com and get your money working today. Membership eligibility, terms, and conditions apply. Federally insured by NCUA.
333 competitors, 40 countries, one winner. The Gina Bachauer International Artist Piano Competition comes to its thrilling conclusion. 2 evenings of concerto performances by some of the world's best pianists. Who will win the gold medal? Find out this Friday and Saturday. Performances at a Bravenel Hall with the Utah Symphony. Tickets and details at Bachauer.com. That's BACHAUER.com.
Emergency traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. What's happening, Heather?
Well, traffic is still at a crawl, Amanda. This is up in Weber County, southbound I-15 from 1800 North and Far West all the way down to 24th Street in Ogden. You only have, now you have one left lane blocked. 3 right lanes are now open, but originally only 1 right lane was available for well over an hour, and that's why traffic is still crawling along, even though more lanes have opened up. A lot of people are opting to take 1900 West as their alternate through the Ogden area, and that's creating extra congestion there as well. UDOT construction alert. Plan ahead for overnight delays in Parley's Canyon this weekend. Westbound I-80 will be down to 1 lane through Saturday night as crews work on utilities. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
We'll have sunshine today and cooler temperatures, a high of about 87. Right now it's 72 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
There's a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking going on right now as we discuss the CNN presidential debate that happened last night. We still haven't seen the numbers, how many people tuned in, but we expect it to be somewhere in the 70 million range. Probably 35 to 40% of America tuned into that debate last night. And the big conversation right now were some of the struggles that President Biden had and the stumbles in his answers.
And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
And the criticism, Greg Skordas filling in for Debbie Dujanovic, by the way, is not just coming from Republicans.
It's really been interesting because a lot of criticism has come from Democrats, including some who are looking at this and looking forward and saying, they're going so far, Davis, to say, should he even be our candidate? Democrats are saying that, and they're scared. They're running scared right now. I know that Mara said, November's a long way away, but today a lot of people are looking very hard at our president and his competency to serve for 4 more years.
I was watching some of the debrief on CNN, and this is what one of their analysts, Van Jones, had to say about President Biden's performance.
He didn't do well at all. He did not do well at all. And he looked, I'll give you the analysis, you kind of have the old man versus the con man. I can walk you through how I'm supposed to see it and say it, but I just want to speak from my heart. I love that guy. That's a good man. He loves his country. He's doing the best that he can. But he had a test to meet tonight to restore confidence of the country and of the base, and he failed to do that. And I think there's a lot of people who are going to want to see him consider taking a different course now. We're still far from our convention.
And the criticism extended even out to former Democratic Senator Claire McCaskill.
My job now is to be really honest. Joe Biden had one thing he had to do tonight, and he didn't do it. He had one thing he had to accomplish, and that was reassure America that he was up to the job at his age. And he failed at that tonight.
Joining us right now from the Hinckley Institute of Politics, the director there, Jason Perry. Thanks, Jason, for joining us. This was an early debate happening in June. How long does this poor performance carry with the president?
Well, it's going to linger for a while is the reality. And what you were just talking about is so true. When you try to decide how long will it take, the fact that Democrats right now are pulling out the law books and trying to decide what happens if they want to put another candidate forward, that is the most telling part about this. And there is a process. It's a difficult process, but I think that there's a lot of reassessment going on on both sides of the aisle right now, but particularly with the Democrats. They're going to have to come up with a strategy pretty quickly to rehabilitate President Biden, try to bring him back to the Biden we saw during the State of the Union address.
Yeah, and Jason, the Biden we saw after he had been cleared with sort of a backhanded compliment by the special counsel for the document case, when he came out and said, I'm competent, I know what I'm doing. He was great, and the Democrats were like going, our guy is back. But I mean, what happened last night? Do you think it was a product of a lack of preparation? Do you think that he is slipping a little bit? I mean, as you watched him, and you've been watching him for many years, what's going on with our president?
Well, I will tell you, and I'm going to start with just the pure reality is he's old. He's 82 years old. I mean, this is just some of the things that happen when you reach a certain age. It's just one of those realities. You combine that fact with the schedule and what I think was probably not a question of under preparation from him. I mean, you look at his career and his life, he's pretty prepared always. And so I think it's a matter of maybe the schedule kind of took a toll on him. His age took a toll on him. The pressure took a toll on him. We just got a pretty good look at where he is, at least last night.
Is there any sort of possibility, reality of replacing President Biden with another candidate?
Well, it's possible, but keep this in mind, and there's a lot of time left here. President Biden is the presumptive nominee, the choice of the primary voters. He won nearly all of the party delegates. So when this convention happens, there's a couple scenarios where maybe someone else rises and becomes the candidate for the Democratic Party. But if absent of President Biden deciding he is going to step down or wants to step down, it's a pretty difficult process to have someone else take his place. Even though we're already starting to see potential names of people who might be interested, my guess is the Democratic Party is having a very serious conversation with President Biden and his team to chart the course forward.
And maybe good news, bad news, Jason, and that is that the debate was early enough. I mean, had this debate happened in September after the convention, the Democrats might be locked into their candidate. But this early, and I'm not saying they should replace him, but certainly if they want to, and you've described this really well this morning, there's still an avenue to do that. And I guess the dust still needs to settle, but I'm surprised, maybe you are too, at the number of Democrats who have already, or at least Democratic supporters who have already come out and said, hey, we need to reevaluate this.
Yeah, it was a perfect opportunity for those folks that have been making these exact allegations about his capacity to lead at this time. It was just too easy for them to just sort of pick that up and to run with it. It's interesting, Greg, you talked about this earlier this morning that this was the earliest debate we have seen, which makes me sad. As you may recall, we were supposed to have one of those debates at the University of Utah in October. But what's interesting about this is because it was so early, and it kind of cuts both ways. One is maybe at least we know now. That's one way to look at it. And the second way is maybe we have an opportunity to rehabilitate for a period of time. We start setting the stage better. So President Biden appears at events where it looks like last night was more the anomaly than the norm. So having it this early maybe gives some opportunities, but I'd also be considering whether or not that debate in September should happen.
That's where my mind went. If I'm eating a bag of peanuts and I eat a bad peanut, you don't want to leave that as the last taste in your mouth. Do you think there is a possibility that they resurrect a debate and give President Biden a second shot?
Well, that's definitely the plan right now. It's interesting. President Biden's advisors have stated that he will participate in that debate in September. And we're all wondering if that is really the case. This is going to be a calculated decision as to whether or not President Biden does want to participate in that one. They haven't said no, but I think that there has to be a lot of work to sort of rehabilitate and show him in a different capacity over the next several months if they will feel if the Democrats will feel confident putting him back on the stage in September. If they don't, I predict they say we don't need a second debate.
Jason Perry, thank you for joining us from the Hinckley Institute of Politics. When we come back, we're still waiting on results in the Republican primary. There's still one big race that is out there, and it is getting closer.
It's getting closer by the hour. It's interesting.
Every day it gets closer and closer and closer. We'll tell you about that next.
Finally Friday. With Dave Dujanovic.
You've been working so hard to keep your lawn and garden looking good. Maybe it's time to make your home look incredible with new window frames and double-pane glass from Advanced Window Products. If you can imagine it, they can create it at their factory in Salt Lake City. Any style, any color, security enhancements to keep your family safe. All this and factory direct pricing. You're buying local and paying less. So seal up your home and reap the energy savings with Advanced Window Products, where they've been creating windows for 38 years. No subcontractors, they're not resellers. They build the windows, they install the windows, and they guarantee them for life. And right now at their summer special, get an extra $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. They offer 0% financing and even buy now, pay later. Busy season's just hitting. Call now. Advanced Window Products, $2,500 off. But you have to call 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. Or go to advancedwindowsusa.com.
Emergency traffic brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. And the good news is the crash southbound I-15 in Ogden has cleared. All the lanes are now open, but residual delays are still happening between 1800 North and Far West down to 21st Street in Ogden. Probably another 10 minutes or so and all these delays will clear out, but right now you're about 3 or 4 miles of under 30-mile-per-hour traffic. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Sign up for KSL Text Alerts. Get breaking news and traffic updates by texting the word news to 57500. Want access to exclusive contests? Text contest to 57500. Jazz fans, text the word jazz for breaking jazz updates. And Cougar fans, text BYU to 57500 for the latest on the Cougars. Message and data rates may apply.
Say hello to 4U Banking from Zions Bank. Customized banking that's all about you and the way you bank, like a home equity line of credit. Experience 4U Banking today at a Zions Bank branch or visit zionsbank.com/4U to learn more. Loan subject to credit approval. Terms and conditions apply. Actual APR will be determined based on loan amount and credit worthiness. Rates and terms are subject to change without notice. Other conditions may apply. Contact a local branch for full details. A division of Zions Bank Corporation, N.A. member FDIC, equal housing lender, NMLS number 467014.
Bear Lake Convention and Visitors Bureau would like to invite you and the family to enjoy 2 very special dates this summer. Ready? Let's go. July 4th, it's time to celebrate freedom in Paris, Idaho. Begin with a morning chuck wagon breakfast at Memory Park, followed by the Paris 4th of July parade down Main Street. Then Garden City offers an unforgettable experience with fireworks at Heritage Park, along with the Chase Beckham concert. Family activities start at 4. The show begins at 7:30, and the fireworks are at 10. If you didn't get all that, visit bearlake.org. Then July 27th, it's the ideal beach water fireworks show. Think Las Vegas on steroids. There's also hot rods, classic cars, trucks, and motorcycles alongside beautifully restored vintage cars. Again, visit bearlake.org and learn more. Lodging, activities, family events, summer spectaculars, all at Bear Lake. Visit bearlake.org for more. bearlake.org.
Hey, Utah. When it comes to guiding the growth of our state, you buzzed in with your comments, and we listened to what you had to say. Your feedback on the future of Utah's housing, water, transportation, and open space will continue to help our leaders make important policy decisions, preserving and improving our high quality of life in meaningful ways for years to come. So, thanks for speaking up. Learn more about our state's future at guidingourgrowth.utah.gov.
This morning I woke up and I wanted to listen to KSL News Radio as I do. As I'm getting ready, I throw on my AirPods and then I open the KSL News Radio app and I listen to Tim and Amanda in the morning. I do that every single day. So make sure if you want to download the KSL News Radio app, you can find it anywhere you download apps, or you can text the word app to 57500.
Steve, my wife and I love shopping at NPS so much that when we got home from a trip and we needed food for the next day, she's like, let's just stop at NPS on the way home from the airport. We'll see what they've got. We're supposed to bring this to a party. We just went straight to NPS. That was the first place we went.
You know, your devotion to their groceries are incredible, and I think that's wonderful. I also do that and then go to my regular store after if I don't find it there at NPS. But I also love going over to the industrial side because they always have something cool that I probably don't need, but I would love to have.
And NPS, if you've never been there, first of all, I'm surprised because we've talked about them so much. It stands for National Product Sales, but we call it a nice place to save. Their prices are so low because they get their inventory from overstock, unclaimed, and refused shipments from various companies, and they have so much of it that they price it to move. And sometimes you can save an additional 20 to 70% off that price only at a place like NPS. 4 locations, 2 in Salt Lake at 1600 South Empire Road, 1 in Layton at 1150 North Main, and 1 in Orem at 475 North State.
Master Electrical Services, home of the upfront pricing guarantee.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, the Supreme Court has upended a 40-year-old decision that made it easier for the federal government to regulate the environment, public health, workplace safety, and consumer protection. Billions of dollars are potentially at stake. Second, the NHL draft is tonight. It will be Utah's first time taking part with 13 picks. Third, a request to rezone an area of the mouth of Immigration Canyon was denied by the Salt Lake City Planning Commission, but could still be heard by the City Council. Right now, it's 72 degrees in Salt Lake. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Welcome back to the show. We've had a great discussion about last night's CNN presidential debate, the only debate so far between presumptive nominees Donald Trump and Joe Biden. But let's shift gears. Let's come locally because we just had a Republican primary, and I was fortunate enough on Wednesday to have Greg Skordas join me on that day as well, Greg, and we spoke to just about all the winners.
We did, and what we did was we looked at the 6 major races, the 3 congressional races, Senate, governor, and attorney general.
Yes.
And the fact that the numbers from the convention shifted in the primary in 5 of those 6. Well, it's actually 4 of the 6. One of them still hasn't been decided, and it's getting nail-bitingly closer, if that's a word, every day. I think that Celeste Malloy still leads. She was up 52-48. She's now up 50.4 to 49.5, which is, and the total vote difference is 991 votes out of over 100,000. And the AP is estimating that at this point, 96% of the votes have been counted. But I think importantly, Dave, is this. The votes that have been counted seem to be rural, more urban votes, more Wasatch Front area votes, which of course you might expect, which would tend to favor Malloy. As we get outside of that area, we've seen, even in the other races that we talked about, more of the votes going toward the more conservative candidate. And so I think that explains why Colby Jenkins' numbers continue to increase. Whether they're going to cross that threshold and get over 50%, we'll see. But with 4% of the votes still being counted, I think it's going to get closer.
One thing that was very interesting that stood out to me in this race is Colby Jenkins is from Roosevelt, Utah, so rural Utah. Celeste Malloy is from southern Utah. And Celeste Malloy, when she won the special election back last November, it was dominating southern Utah and rural Utah with the other candidates. What stood out to me is this time around, when you look at the breakdown, Celeste Malloy has even lost Washington County, where she is from.
Her home county, where she served actually at the Washington County Attorney's Office. She has a great presence in Washington and Iron counties. She has been a very outstanding lawyer in those two counties in that particular part of the state. Well known. She worked with Congressman Curtis. She was basically his right-hand person, and was the
Congressman Stewart.
Or Stewart,
yes,
Chris Stewart. I'm sorry. We'll talk about Curtis later, but Stewart and he kind of handed over the reins to her. Special election. Her. She's had to run twice in less than a year. Really came out strong. I was surprised, and I think a lot of people were also, Dave, that she didn't go the signature route, and she took her chances at the convention where she barely crossed that 40% threshold. I think she was 43.57.
Yes.
Of course, those numbers have flipped a little bit, but that was very brave of her. But also, we've learned that signature gathering process is incredibly expensive, even if it's just for a congressional race where you don't need the entire statewide numbers.
Representative Malloy's story is interesting because when she did win that special election, when she came out of convention, the delegates threw their weight behind her. This was back last year, almost to the day last year that this was happening. She benefited a great deal from the support and the endorsement of her boss, Representative Chris Stewart.
Right.
And somebody with very little name recognition was able to win the primary, win the general election, and then almost immediately after she was sworn in, she started running. She had to run again at convention and the primary. So it has been nonstop running for Celeste Malloy.
And a surprise came out right before the convention, and that was Mike Lee, who's very powerful, very well respected, deservedly so within the Republican Party. I mean, he's sort of the face of the Utah Republican Party, if there is one. And he came out and supported her opponent at the convention. That may have turned the tide, at least to the convention, but it seems to have at least closed the gap quite a bit for the primary as well.
And another little twist on this story was obviously Senator Lee's endorsement was a little bit of a surprise. It's not very common that you don't support your colleagues.
Who he's been meeting with every week.
Yes.
And the Utah caucus gets together, they have breakfast once a week. And so I think she was shocked at that endorsement coming out against her, in favor of her opponent. I think they're going to have a hard time next time they have breakfast.
It may be a little bit awkward, no question, but also to continue kind of the surprise, during the debate, Celeste Malloy and Colby Jenkins were talking about their stances, their policies, and Colby Jenkins often talked about how important President Trump was to the future of this country. And even though they're running for Congressional District 2, Colby Jenkins brought up President Trump's name over and over and over again about the importance of having the right leadership.
And guess who President Trump endorsed in that particular race? It wasn't Colby Jenkins. It was Celeste Malloy. And some people think it's because Trump could read the writing on the wall and figured she was going to win and wanted to jump on the winner's bandwagon. Who knows? I mean, his record, the Trump endorsement record at the primaries the other night wasn't particularly good. We saw that I think 60% of the people he endorsed didn't win, which was not which probably was a surprising number. But he did support Celeste Malloy. Senator Lee did support her opponent. What those endorsements meant, what they'll mean in the long run, I guess remains to be seen. Hopefully, we'll have a result from that before Monday.
President Trump's endorsement did come very late, though, just a matter of days, a little over a week before the primary. So there were some pundits that thought that it came in too late. Celeste Malloy in the debate said that she had worked with the Trump administration, that she had a lot of endorsements from people that served under Trump, and then ultimately she did get that endorsement from President Trump. But the lead on Wednesday, when we first saw the results, was 2,900 votes.
Now it's 900.
Now we're at 991.
Just briefly before we take a break, with respect to the other election, the other races, Trent Staggs has finally conceded on the Senate race, so that one's wrapped up. I think the Attorney General's race is not a problem anymore. Blake Moore, it seems comfortable. the one that hasn't conceded yet is Phil Lyman, and he's still looking at. There's still a lot of votes to be counted. Of course, he's way down. I think it's 13 or 14%. I can't imagine even if he got 90% of the rural counties he's going to overcome that. But he's also talking lawsuits and that type of thing. We'll see where that goes.
Yeah, he posted on X, don't get rid of your Lyman
signs yet.
Just not yet.
Right.
Keep those up just a little bit longer. But we will continue to follow that. But the closest race so far is Congressional District 2, where Celeste Malloy holds a very narrow 991 vote lead so far.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio in Salt Lake City. I'm Adam Small with KSL's top stories this hour. 7 teenagers on a Pioneer trek in Sevier County ended up in the hospital after a lightning strike. Details from KSL News Radio's Don Brinkerhoff.
About 50 teens felt the effect of the lightning as it struck the wet ground near them. 7 teens were taken to the hospital, and 2 of those were later flown to Primary Children's Hospital here in Salt Lake. All of the teens were on a trail as part of a Pioneer reenactment with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
KSL TV's Garna Mejia spoke with some of those teens who were not seriously injured. They did say, though, they had headaches and ringing in their ears. The Supreme Court decision today could make it harder to charge and convict January 6 rioters with obstruction specifically. According to ABC News Chief Justice Correspondent Pierre Thomas, the Department of Justice says, though this might not have a huge impact on ongoing cases.
Over 1,000 January 6 defendants have been charged and convicted. And they make the point that many of them have been convicted of other felonies in addition to this particular statute. Their argument here is that this statute only applies to roughly 300 of those 1,000.
Your money at this moment, the Dow is up just under 0.2%. The S&P 500 is up just over 0.25%. The NASDAQ is up about 0.3%. Coming up, getting a bit of a reprieve from the heat wave, but it's going to be back. We'll check your forecast next. KSL News Time is 10:01.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Jeff Kaplan here with Josh Moore from IWC Roofing. Josh, on our show yesterday, you made a very special offer for our listeners.
$2,000 off an entire roof purchase. It's by far the largest promo that we've ever ran in almost 30 years of business. And in addition to that, we can actually do financing. So not one or the other, but we can combine the two.
So you're going to keep it going an extra day, but why IWC Roofing?
The question is, why not IWC Roofing? We're the highest rated roofing contractor in the state. We've been in business for 30 years, and hands down, because of the volume that we do and this additional promo that we're running, we will get you the best value out there on a new roof purchase, guaranteed.
And they'll do your entire roof in one day. Get $2,000 off, but you have to call today. IWC Roofing, 801-232-5690, 801-232-5690. That's 801-232-5690, or go to IWCRoofingUtah.com. Thanks, Josh.
You bet. Thanks.
Jeff Kaplan. I'm energized by breaking news. First of all, because it's right now, and second of all, because in many cases the audience needs to know. There's no more important service that we can provide, and I find it critically important to get more details to the audience as quickly as possible. There's nothing more energizing than that for me. Not at all. The most important thing we do is breaking news. I am gratified that so many people listen to me every afternoon on KSL, but what they don't know is that there are so many people behind the scenes making it happen, checking on the traffic, answering the phones, making the calls, talking to the newsmakers. They're out in the street, into the field to get the raw information, and then putting it all together so that I can sit in front of a microphone and be a source of information every afternoon. But there are so many people who make it happen. That's what you don't know.
Ride Home with Jeff Kaplan, weekdays 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together is brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Heather Kelly.
We still have a little bit of slow traffic southbound I-15 coming out of Far West down into Ogden. That's just residual delays from an earlier crash. But now we're looking at another crash northbound I-15 between Sunset and Roy, and that has slowed things down back into Clearfield. Everybody else along the Wasatch Front, though, is traveling at speed. This is the Place Heritage Park is your family place for summer fun. Celebrate Utah History Month all month with tons of patriotic activities, foods, concerts, shops, and more. Visit thisistheplace.org. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, it's going to be cooler today with highs in the upper 80s, but we'll be back in the upper 90s tomorrow. Could be flirting with 100 again come Sunday. Right now, it's sunny and 73 at the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
The Supreme Court early this morning released some decisions, and we've been talking so much about the debate. I can't wait to talk about what these decisions are. We couldn't have a better co-host today because Greg Skordas, our KSL legal analyst, is filling in for Debbie Dujanovic today, who is off. And Greg, let's start off with today's decisions and what they mean. So these, how they apply to us in Utah as well will be important. But start off with, what did we learn today?
Okay, let's start with one that I do think hits close to home in Utah, and that was this homeless issue. And this case involves a city called Grants Pass, Oregon. And to some extent, there was a similar issue in Boise, Idaho. And it deals, Dave, with the ability of the government to penalize homelessness, to cite people for being transients or for trespassing or for hanging around in parks. And the homeless population, the people representing the homeless, said, look, unless you can show us that your city, that your jurisdiction is taking steps to create shelters, to create soup kitchens, to create other alternatives, you can't criminalize or penalize homelessness. That got all the way up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court held in favor of the cities. And they said that banning homeless camps does not violate the Constitution. And it was an interesting provision of the Constitution we were talking about, which is what we call cruel and unusual punishment. You can't impose cruel and unusual punishment. And what they decided was it was cruel and unusual punishment to penalize somebody who's sleeping in a park. That was their only bad deed. And again, you've got to look at the facts of the case. You've got to look and give the cities a little bit of deference. That's one of the few decisions that came out that I was a little bit surprised with. I thought that they might side with the homeless people, but they sided with the cities. Now, moving forward, Salt Lake might start taking a little bit more aggressive stance against the homeless population. Our mayor doesn't seem real inclined to do that, although it was a huge campaign issue for her last year. And I know the populace, especially the business owners downtown, are going, hey, Mayor, you got to do something about this. This gives her a little more ability to do that because she knows that the Supreme Court has endorsed a little bit more enforcement on the homeless camps.
One of the things that was being discussed is the number of beds that are available in shelters.
Exactly.
And that is a struggle because they were having a hard time defining, well, what is the appropriate amount of beds? And are there enough beds and shelters available for the homeless? And then secondly, how do you handle that for folks that may be shelter resistant, where they don't want to go to the shelter?
Right, yeah, and that's a huge problem. So if you've got a shelter set up and it's got 50 beds and only 30 are filled, the groups representing the homeless don't have a great argument that you haven't fulfilled your duty as a jurisdiction to provide comfort for them because they're not taking advantage of it. So maybe you can do something about it. But if you're a small jurisdiction and you don't have anything, and then you're citing people for being homeless, but you don't have any alternative for them, that's a bigger problem. And that's really what Grants Pass was about. I mean, it's not a big city, but it's dealing with the homeless population, but the Supreme Court sided with the city.
Does it in any way require cities to expand or make available more resources for homeless?
That was the exact argument that was being made by the homeless representatives, and that didn't fly. It didn't cover didn't cover the ground. So I think cities should take that into account so they can avoid lawsuits like what happened here. But if you're taking reasonable steps now, that's going to probably be enough.
So here in Utah, what's the next step? So is there just political pressure? Is there legal pressure on mayors to crack down on homeless encampments, or can they still enforce it almost at their discretion?
So I think there's going to be, that's a great question, Dave. I think there's going to be a little bit more pressure on Salt Lake City and Salt Lake County mayors, and to say, look, the Supreme Court has now endorsed taking a little bit more step to ban homeless camps than what you've taken so far because you've been nervous about getting sued. The Supreme Court has said, don't be nervous about that anymore. So, I mean, they're both Democrat-leaning politicians. I mean, the Salt Lake City Mayor, Jenny Wilson, is a Democrat, or Salt Lake County Mayor. Salt Lake City is a nonpartisan, but both of them are more liberal-thinking politicians, let's face it. However, this decision will force them to consider the desires of the business owners in their communities and the people in their communities who are saying, look, what are you doing about homeless camps? They can no longer say, hey, my hands are tied, because they're not.
And that's not the only decision that was released today.
Oh, no, there's some interesting ones today. Another one deals with, and this one I think has some huge ramifications I don't know that a lot of people know, and that is that a number of the people that have been charged in the January 6, 2021 insurrection have been charged under a federal statute called obstructing justice. And the courts have obstructing, let's put it that way. The courts have sort of wrestled with, is that appropriate? What were they obstructing? And is that an appropriate charge? The Supreme Court today said that was not an appropriate charge. Now, some of them are charged with rioting or disturbing the peace or even assault if they hurt a police officer. But the obstructing, it was an interesting legal theory by the Department of Justice, because they said, well, you're obstructing a congressional meeting, you're obstructing an act, you're obstructing Congress in doing their duty. The obstruction statute really wasn't designed for that, and that's what's been wrestled with in this case. So the Supreme Court said, you know what, you shouldn't have charged people under that statute. Let me tell you the ramifications of this. We've gone back and looked at the hundreds and hundreds of people that have been charged in that. 249 were charged with obstruction. Those 249 people can very well have their cases looked at. 52 of those were sentenced. That is, the judge imposed a sentence, and 27 of those are currently in prison for a crime that no longer exists, or at least that is no longer enforceable. Now, if they're in prison for something other than the obstruction, if they got more charges, maybe that will stick. But if they're just in prison for obstruction, I mean, this is going to have huge impact on 250 cases. The government, the Department of Justice, can't be happy about this, but they're going to have to reevaluate, and the courts are going to force them. And of course, the defense attorneys are going to force them to say, look, you prosecuted this person under a statute that the Supreme Court has said you may not prosecute them under.
So now that ruling comes down, do the folks that are already in prison right now, what's their next step? Do they have to appeal, or is it like immediately they get released?
Well, I think a little bit of both, and I know that's a cop-out answer, but I think that the attorneys and the judges are going to have to look at those cases, and the Department of Justice is going to have to go and look at those cases and say, we can't force them to go through the Supreme Court because the Supreme Court's already made its decision. So on a case-by-case basis, they're going to have to look and say, was individual A convicted of something other than obstruction? And if so, does their conviction stand? Or does their sentence stand? Does their fact that they're in prison stand? Would they have been sent to prison without the obstruction charge? And if the answer is no, they're going to be released. If they were only convicted or only pled guilty, a lot of these people just entered plea bargains to the obstruction, they're going to be able to withdraw their plea and have that plea set aside. Now, the Department of Justice may re-prosecute them on something else. I don't know that they have an appetite to do that anymore. I mean, January 6th was 3 years ago now. I mean, we're getting ready for January 6, 2025, which could be interesting. But I don't know that the Department of Justice really has an appetite to go back and look at all those convictions again.
Yeah, and what obstruction means. Did they narrow the definition of what obstruction looks like
Exactly.
and gave some guidance?
That's exactly
to that?
what they did. And a third one that came out today, Dave, if we have just a minute, there was the Chevron doctrine ruling. Now, the Chevron doctrine is a 40-year-old doctrine that we've had in this country that allows for agencies such as the Environmental Protection Agency to avoid court scrutiny on their decisions. They can issue administrative rulings and decisions, and by and large, the courts have to give them great deference in that. They don't.
So if a law is passed and there's some ambiguity in that law, and it applies, let's say, to the EPA is able to my understanding, what you're saying, more narrowly define what that law and how it would apply?
Yeah, in this case, it would be a rule, a regulation,
Okay.
because we're talking about administrative agencies enacting regulations as opposed to Congress enacting laws. But you're exactly right. So the Congress says, look, we don't have time to deal with the EPA or the DEA or the ATF or whatever. You guys take charge, make rulings, and we'll support those. And largely, the courts are going to stay out of that because that's the realm of the administrative agency. Well, it's like a lot of the cases that we've been talking about over the last couple of days. This one involved the EPA forcing fishermen on the East Coast to have a full-time federal agent on their boat.
And they had to pay for it,
they
I
had to
believe.
pay for
Yeah.
it. So they brought it up. They're like, wait a minute. Don't you think you overstepped your boundaries here a little bit? Another one of those cases where you look at the facts of the case and you go, oh, man, you guys went a little bit too far here. And now we changed 40 years of precedence over one administrative agency's really overstepping what they were supposed to do. So yeah, now the courts have more scrutiny to look over administrative agency decisions and decide whether they were fair and consistent with the role, with the model that agency is supposed to follow.
And those weren't the only decisions that have happened in the last couple of days.
No, yesterday was just as interesting. I'd love to talk about that.
Then let's do it. We're
Okay.
going to talk about that, yesterday's rulings, because we haven't really had a time and chance to discuss these things, and it's so fascinating, and it does directly affect Utah in so many ways when we return.
It's finally Friday. With Dave and Dujanovic. Once you've logged out, punch in.
Good afternoon, 3 o'clock at KSL News Radio.
Put Jeff Kaplan in the passenger seat with traffic and weather every 10 minutes on the 9s, breaking news, and the day's biggest stories. Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News, 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
Honey, hello, honey. This has to stop.
Mowing the lawn? I can't. It grows too fast.
You planted grass in our bedroom.
Yeah, the green is a great compliment to the blue walls.
You planted grass in the hall and the kitchen, too.
I know. I love grass.
Yeah, I love grass, too, but not everywhere.
Does that mean I have to get rid of the riding mower, too? She handles great down the hallway.
Mom warned me there'd be days like this.
Grass doesn't belong everywhere. So now Utah Water Savers offers an incentive plan to replace your grass with water-efficient landscaping. Earn as much as $3 for every square foot of lawn replaced. Register at utahwatersavers.com and learn what incentives are available in your area. And if you thought money didn't grow on trees, guess again.
Add trees to your project from a pre-approved list, and you'll enjoy a tree bait.
Reducing water use is one of the most impactful long-term changes you can make. So start at utahwatersavers.com. utahwatersavers.com.
Well, because we traded him, they probably would have been here otherwise. It's the movie show, guys. Andy Farnsworth and Steve Sales, and we are live at NPS today. The movie show will be starting in about 45 minutes, but we are at, Steve, the Orem store, which I had never been to until today. And wow, what a gorgeous store. I can't believe we're with Cecilia, the store manager. Cecilia, this place looks amazing.
Oh, thank you very much.
But everybody, I mean, you don't come to NPS because it looks amazing.
That's right.
It's just a bonus.
That's
you come here to
right.
save a whole bunch of money on stuff. Base price on everything of brand new items, 30 to 70% off retail. But then you guys have some extra deals going on today that we want to make sure people come and take advantage of. So what have we got here at the Orem store at 475 North Main, 475 North State in Orem? What are some of the awesome specials you guys have today?
Well, we have all the clothing are 50%, bedding and linens are 30%, shoes are 30%, kitchen are 25%, vacuum are 30%, mattresses and mattresses are 50% off, accessories and sandals are 50% off.
Well, it's summer. That seems like a good idea.
That is right. And then we just do a flash sales on all our 4th of July merchandise, so that's 50% off right now.
Wait. You're selling your 4th of July merchandise cheaper before the 4th of July? Because usually you're supposed to do it after, right?
Believe me, it's weekend today, so we want to get rid of it before 4th of July.
Well, no, that's the exact opposite of how most businesses do it. They make you pay the extra before the 4th of July and then say, okay, now that it's passed, we'll give you a deal. But you guys, you give the deal before the 4th of July. That's awesome.
Yes, NPS is like that. We love our community, especially Orem.
And I noticed, just like the other NPS stores I've been to, the line was out the door waiting to get in as soon as they opened at 10 o'clock this morning.
I know.
And for our barbecues, I noticed you have a deal on corn.
Yes, we are 10 pieces for $1. And then our grapes, green and red one, are now $1.99 a bag.
Wow.
That's supposed to be $1.19 per pound. Now it's $1.99 a bag.
Oh, because it's like some of these are like 2-pound bags.
Yes.
And your watermelons, I noticed, were like 49 cents a pound.
Yes, you are right. 49 cents a pound.
This and a whole bunch of great deals at all the NPS stores. But come check us out. This is the first time that since I've been on the movie show that we've done it from Orem. So
Rookie.
Come say hi to us, Utah County, at 475 North State Street in Orem.
Hey, it's me, your liver. You know, the organ that helps you recover every weekend after pizza, donuts, and all those drinks. When you have a headache, you take an aspirin. You have a stomach ache, you pop an antacid. But where's the love for your best buddy, the liver? The least that you could do to help me stay healthy is take Active Liver from New Nordic. Active Liver tablets contain high-quality, all-natural ingredients like milk thistle, globe artichoke, and turmeric extracts, which are proven to keep me healthy and you feeling your best. Active Liver provides an easy daily detox and helps protect me all year long. So let me make you an offer you can't refuse. You take care of me with Active Liver, and I keep taking care of you. Capiche?
See for yourself why Active Liver is Scandinavia's #1 liver health supplement. You can find Active Liver at CVS and online at Amazon, Target.com, or directly from NewNordicUSA.com. Again, find it in stores at CVS or online at Amazon, Target.com, or NewNordicUSA.com.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Adam Small. First, Utah's 2nd Congressional District U.S. House race is still too close to call, with Congresswoman Celeste Malloy now just holding on to about a 1,000-vote lead on Colby Jenkins. Second, Vice President Kamala Harris is in Park City today. She will be attending a fundraiser for the Biden campaign. And third, a U.S. Supreme Court decision this morning could make it harder to charge and convict January 6 defendants with obstruction. Right now it's sunny and 73 in Salt Lake City. Let's get you back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
And Supreme Court decisions are raining down the last couple of days. A number of decisions have been published. Some came out a little earlier than expected. A little bit of a...
We got a little sneak preview on one of them. What's that? What's going on up there?
I'm telling you, you need a little better IT there, folks,
Right.
when you're trying to upload stuff. Yeah, the Supreme Court has released several decisions. We just talked about a number of them. But, Greg, it wasn't just today where they were coming out, but yesterday a number of decisions dropped, and you're going to walk us through. And I want to start off with the Idaho abortion case.
Yeah, that was interesting. We this is the one we had a sneak preview that somebody leaked their opinion, and it was an opinion that sort of puts the cart before the horse, and I'll explain that in just a minute. Idaho passed a almost total abortion ban law, and after the Dobbs decision, of course, the states are all looking at what they want to do. Idaho's was seemingly the most restrictive of any abortion ban in the country. The federal government has looked at that and said, what could we do? And there is a federal law, Dave, that says that if you want to get federal funding for your hospital, if you want to get Medicaid or Medicare for your hospital, you have to take people in who are having life-threatening conditions. You have to do that.
Right.
So the federal government has said, look, you can't just have a total abortion ban on the one hand and have a federal law that says if a woman is literally dying or is under serious medical compromise because of a miscarriage, but you can't perform an abortion, those two statutes don't fly together. You know what I mean? That's not right. So the Supreme Court actually held that the state of Idaho's abortion ban goes too far, at least for the present time. So what happens is it's like a lot of laws where the law is passed, there's a lawsuit filed, and then a judge decides, do we put the law on hold while we're arguing the case, or do we let it go into effect? In this case, the trial court said, no, we're gonna stay Idaho's law while we decide what the federal problem is. The Ninth Circuit said, no, we're going to let the Idaho law go into place. The Supreme Court said, time out. Don't let that go in. We're going to stay the Idaho law, send it back to the Court of Appeals, and you guys decide if the law is, in fact, in line with federal law. But the Supreme Court didn't reach that decision. They simply said, Idaho, don't impose your law yet until we can get to the issues of the case. It's sort of sometimes you just have to deal with these preliminary injunctions, and we're doing that in Utah on a number of cases, including Utah's abortion case.
That was where I was going next. Does that add any kind of clarification or move things along any further with Utah's abortion case, which has been tied up in the courts for a number of years?
Yeah, and you're talking about the trigger law, which was something the legislature passed in anticipation of the Dobbs decision. They could see the writing on the wall, and they said, as soon as the Supreme Court flips Roe versus Wade, this is going to be Utah's law. That's been stayed too, and unlike Idaho, the court didn't flip that over. Right now, that's in hold. That's on hold. And there are two actually Utah abortion laws that are on hold. One is the I'll call it the near total ban. It's not nearly as bad as Idaho's, or as restrictive as Idaho's, I should say. And the other one was the abortion clinic, that you had to have the procedure done at certain clinics, which would have greatly restricted certain people's access. Those two laws are on hold. There is a current law in place in Utah, and I think it's the 18-week ban. I want to make sure 16-week. I don't recall exactly. But there is a law in place in Utah that is more restrictive than what we've had in the past, while these two much more restrictive laws are going to face Utah state constitutional scrutiny, not federal constitution, because the Supreme Court said it's not a federal issue.
Right.
There is no constitution. There is no state or federal constitutional right to an abortion. Utah and every other state's saying, well, what about our state constitutions?
Another decision that came down was settlements on Purdue Pharma.
Yeah, this one was really interesting because there was the owners, or the people that owned Purdue Pharma had a bankruptcy plan, and this is the Sackler family. And they said, look, rather than have us go through bankruptcy, we're going to pony up something like $6 billion. We're going to put it in the bankruptcy court. All of our victims can have a piece of the pie. Utah's Attorney General, a lot of other states were saying, look at all this money we got. This was great. They're avoiding bankruptcy. They're avoiding lawsuits. And this family has put this money all together. And a lot of people said, well, wait a minute. We still should be able to sue you. They said, no, we're paying all this money so that we can avoid lawsuits. The Supreme Court said, no, you don't get to pay money and avoid lawsuits. You have to face the music. So good news, bad news. The good news is victims of OxyContin and other problems still can, and their related problems, I should say, still can go after Purdue Pharma, still can go after that group, still can go after the owners, but they get to put their billions of dollars back. They don't have to pay that anymore because they paid that in anticipation of not having to pay that in part of lawsuit, if that makes sense.
So they were hoping that this settlement would maybe absolve them. They could move forward from any of the future lawsuits saying that you provided too many painkillers.
Made it too easy to get.
And had promoted it unfairly. Right. So they had set aside that money. Now that they get that money back, does it end up going back to the individuals having to individually sue now?
Yeah, now you've opened the floodgates to individual lawsuits. Now they may still say the state of Utah is going to file a lawsuit and this state's going to file a lawsuit, and you're still going to have to pay the money. But they were trying to avoid this all in the bankruptcy court instead of the federal court, instead of the trial court. It's much cheaper for everyone, and they seemingly put so much money on the table. And the bankruptcy court approved it. Everybody was on board. I mean, it was a stipulated settlement. But some individuals are like, wait a minute, you're closing off our right to sue just because a rich person bought themselves out of lawsuit because they have these billions of dollars. Wait a minute, maybe they should be on the hook for something more than that. And it could be a gamble that turns the other way. They may not get that. That family may not end up paying billions of dollars down the road.
And also, since this was in regards to bankruptcy, kind of a settlement,
right?
Could there be a more catastrophic bankruptcy filing from them now, Purdue? I mean, could this end their company or?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they are going to end up in bankruptcy court, but the bankruptcy court's going to have all the potential debtors, all the people. When you file bankruptcy, you say, I may owe this person and this person and this person money. I'm wiping that clean. Mm-hmm. Now they're saying, I may owe this person money. Maybe I still do, but the bankruptcy judge is going to have to decide whether the bankruptcy is going to absolve that. And typically, bankruptcies don't absolve personal injury, that kind of settlement. It's more like debt collection. You didn't pay for your car. You didn't pay for your credit card. You came upside down on your house, that type of thing. This is not the kind of thing that's typically resolved in a bankruptcy court.
When we come back, thank you, Greg. That was there's so many cases. How you keep them straight is absolutely
there are a
incredible.
Couple more. I wish we had more time.
There was more to discuss. Well, this is good news because typically the Supreme Court ends their decisions in June. They might go into overtime.
Not this year. Yeah, there's one biggie left on the table. That's the Trump immunity case.
Immunity.
Look for that on Monday.
We'll look forward to that. Thanks, Greg. When we come back, let's go back to the debates. Boyd Matheson is going to join us. And when we were talking to Boyd, he said there is a different way we should be looking at and analyzing debates. There were things that he was looking for, kind of the good behavior of debates. I will be interested to hear from Boyd if he found any good behavior in last night's debate.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Heather Peterson. KSL's top story this hour. Utah's 2nd Congressional District House race is still too close to call. Congresswoman Celeste Moa still has a slight lead, but challenger Colby Jenkins has chipped away at it every day since Election Day. Malloy now only leads by about 1,000 votes. It could be days before a winner is declared. We're expecting to see another ballot drop from Washington County today around 4 o'clock. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The Supreme Court ruled this morning that cities can enforce bans on homeless people sleeping outdoors, even places where shelter space is lacking. In a 6-3 decision, the High Court reversed a ruling by a San Francisco-based appeals court that found outdoor sleeping bans amount to cruel and unusual punishment. Several other decisions were also released this morning. Police in Utah County are trying to find a driver who pulled a gun in a road rage incident.
This all happened during yesterday morning's commute on the Pony Express Parkway. Police say a driver called them after another driver had tailgated and then pulled that gun out on them. It's the second road rage incident authorities have had to deal with over the past few days in Utah County.
That's KSL News Radio's Michael Commit reporting. They're asking all drivers to take a deep breath and think about what's at stake before losing their cool. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up about 0.1%, the S&P is up just over 0.1%, and the NASDAQ is up about 0.1%. Coming up, we've got another toasty weekend ahead. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:32.
What's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the 9s, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Hey, summer's here. Better replace your old air conditioner with up to $4,450 in incentives from First Choice Heating and Air on a new day and night system help.
Don't put it off any longer. Have First Choice Heating and Air install a new high-efficiency day and night heat pump AC and furnace and get day and night rebates and tax credits totaling up to $4,450. But hurry, this offer ends soon.
Hi, this is Rob Freeman. Click online to firstchoicecool.com. We have you covered.
The difference is day and night at First Choice Heating and Air.
For the right repair and the right paint, the right choice is manufacturer-certified Martins Collision Repair. Hi, I'm Tiago Martins, and few have met the rigorous certification by Kia, Ford, Infiniti, Chrysler, Jeep, Nissan, Hyundai, and many others. But it's one more reason that Martins is your right choice. Check online at martinscollision.com. On State Street in Orem and in Salem, we work with all insurance companies.
The right repair, the right paint, the right choice. Martins Collision Repair.
It's the movie show, guys. Andy Farnsworth and Steve Sales. And I'm telling you right now, if you're going to do a 4th of July barbecue, do not go to the grocery store first. You have got to come to NPS and get your barbecue supplies here. Because I'm looking over there, I see hamburger buns and hot dog buns sitting right behind us. We've got different bags of chips. We got all the condiments. Don't go pay grocery store prices for your barbecue. Come here to NPS. And even better,
they have barbecues.
They actually have barbecues that are on sale that you can buy. So if you're new, starting off, like our producer Stoney doesn't have all the stuff yet. He's about to get start life with his fiance here soon. Come to NPS and get the stuff that you need. In fact, Cecilia, I took advantage of your guys' 10 ears of corn for $1. Delicious corn. And if you're having a big barbecue for a lot of people, come get a whole bunch of corn for almost nothing.
Yeah, that's very true. It's 10 cents of corn, and you cannot find that even anywhere here in any retail.
Then you can't get it, and you can't even get it on the side of the road from people selling corn for that cheap.
Very true.
But you've also got grapes for $1.99 for a 2-pound bag of grapes.
Very true.
Delicious grapes. As soon as my wife heard the sale, she said, "You need to stop at NPS on the way home." So I did, and we bought the grapes and the
you have
corn.
both the red and the green.
The green, yes.
But you guys have a lot of great things, too, besides the grocery. And here we're at the NPS store in Orem, 475 North State. They have 4 locations, though, NPS. So if you're not in Utah County, you can check out the Salt Lake store at 1600 South Empire Road, or up in Davis County, Layton at 1150 North Main. But I just wandered through your guys' collectibles, and you've got 30% off collectibles today.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys had some gorgeous-looking watches. Furniture was, I think, 30% off. I was kind of eyeing a nice recliner that would retail for $300, but with the discounts you have today, about $150.
Yeah.
I may look a little longer at that one. But what any other deals you want to spotlight for people?
Well, that's what you said already, and probably we have another deal starting July 1st.
Okay.
And we are doing that right now. I think that's more exciting rather than this week.
What?
So before July 5th, we have great deals for all our customers here in NPS.
All right, NPS, a nice place to save.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, we have a pretty good drive right now across the Wasatch Front, except if you are on 2200 North in the North Salt Lake area. It's on the border of North Salt Lake and West Bountiful. They're shutting down 2200 North due to a structure fire, so you have to find an alternate route to and from the industrial park area. Experience for you banking today at your local Zions Bank branch, or visit zionsbank.com/4u to learn more. A division of Zions Bank Corporation, N.A., member FDIC. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
The skies have mostly cleared out. We'll be working our way up to a high of 87 in Salt Lake City. Then we'll be up in the upper 90s with the potential to reach triple digits on Saturday and Sunday. Right now it's mostly clear and 75 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Heather Peterson from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Last night's CNN presidential debate, it came and it went, and there were a lot of eyeballs. I'm sure there were a lot of eyeballs. Typically, debates in America will grab 60, 70 million viewers. The last Trump-Biden debate grabbed 35 to 40% of all households in America tuned into the debate. And we're waiting to see what the Nielsen ratings are for this most recent debate. But I would guess the numbers are going to be big because this is the only debate. Possibly there's another one that is scheduled, but so far it's the only debate. And filling in for Debbie Dujanovic today is Greg Skordas, and joining us in studio is Boyd Matheson. And Boyd, if there's a debate, there's going to be a winner, there's going to be a loser. So let's just figure out who the winners and the losers of the debate are.
Okay, I think the winners of the debate. I think Kamala Harris had a very good night. She, of course, was tapped to come on after the debate. And I am sure that she was none too pleased with her staffers who signed her up for that duty.
Yeah.
But I actually thought she did a very good job. She didn't just spin. She wasn't just trying to spin the president. It was awesome. She was pretty straightforward. And she made really important pivots to this is what we work on every day. Here's where we're going every day. And so I thought it was a good thing. And it actually shows some of the things that I think the Biden administration has missed from the vice president. She's a fiery communicator. She'll engage in a debate with someone, even someone like the people from CNN. So she leaned into that. So I thought she had a good night. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. had a very good night because suddenly
he counter-programmed, folks. I mean, that was one of the things is during the debate, he ran his own little debate with John Stossel. He was the moderator, and he was listening to the questions, and he would answer because he was not invited to the CNN
He was not
debate.
invited, but he got a lot of eyeballs as the night went on, and he got, I'm sure, even more eyeballs today as a lot of people walked away from that debate saying President Biden clearly had a rough night. You could put him in the loser category. I don't think it was a particularly great night for the former president. I thought he did a better job, obviously, with Mike's cut and things like that. He was much more tempered in terms of style. It wasn't as bombastic. There weren't the interruptions and all of that. But in terms of substance, there was not a lot of substance from either one of these candidates last night. And the fact that we devolved in the last portion of the debate, it sounded like two people at a nursery home arguing over their golf
scores, yeah. Serious.
And then it was, well, you're a liar. Well, no, you're a bigger liar. Well, you're the worst president ever. No, you're the worst president ever. And I thought that was embarrassing.
Well, I'm going to have to play a little bit of that golf handicaps sound because that was the
Don't
most
reward
shocking.
bad behavior, Dave.
You know what, Boyd?
I'm teasing.
The
Go ahead.
temptation is, well, I think what it speaks to more than anything was how easily they could get caught up when the microphones were open. This was one of the few times that CNN left both microphones open and let them exchange back and forth. And sure enough, they did. They started arguing about their golf game.
And by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
He's a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap.
Yeah.
8.
Are we seriously talking about handicaps? Because the last thing America cares about is who's the better golfer.
And here's the real issue in that exchange is that the question was a serious question.
Yes.
And that both of those men could be on a debate stage in front of not just the nation, but the world and be so easily distracted by that. That's disturbing to me.
Because
these are people who are going to sit in the Oval Office behind the Resolute desk or in the Situation Room making decisions that are going to affect all of us and freedom around the world. And if they're getting upset and angry and testy and off track and off message about a golf score, that's disturbing to me. We all should be worried about that.
And Boyd, that's a great point because you're right. The question from the moderators was very, very important. And what most Americans wanted to know and get an answer from was at your advanced age, you're both older. How can you reassure America that you're up for the job? And then sure enough, they both start talking about who's the better golfer.
Yeah, absolutely. And just embarrassing. And we have to expect more. We have to get better. And this doesn't apply to a presidential debate. This goes up and down the ticket. And a lot of people were worried about it. And I think one of the challenging things for both Republicans and Democrats, both sides love to spew the idea that this is the most important election in the history of our country, that freedom is on the ballot, democracy's on the ballot. If that is true, and you're a Democrat, I thought Van Jones did a brilliant job last night.
Oh, yeah.
He was
We
emotional.
played that earlier.
He was
he was
emotional
great, yes.
coming out of it, saying, you know what, if Democrats are going to say this, that Donald Trump is an existential threat to democracy, you can't put up Joe Biden as the competitor.
Right.
And if Republicans are going to say, hey, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are a threat to democracy, you don't put up Donald Trump.
You know, it seems like what was on the table as much as anything yesterday, Boyd, was Biden's age. And I just remember when it started, like, Joe, walk in tall, walk in strong, start big. You know, not even what he has to say, but how he says it. And he just seemed, I don't know, it was just heartbreaking. He seemed like he was off because he did this State of the Union where he was aggressive.
Yeah.
He responded to special counsel's comments that he was too goofy to commit a crime with respect to the documents. But then last night, he kind of laid an egg in terms of the is age
Presence.
Is age catching up with you?
Yeah, and I thought this is one of those, Dave and I always talk about good staffing and bad staffing. We saw malpractice.
Yeah.
Political malpractice, and even just some subtle things. We actually talked about it earlier in the day yesterday. If I'm staffing President Biden yesterday, I'm having him in Atlanta 2 days before. You do not fly him after a rigorous week at Camp David on the same day of the debate.
Hours before.
And then when they got there, they put him out in front of a crowd, a rope line, shaking hands for almost an hour in the Atlanta, Georgia heat. Like, that's not good. That's not good for a 40-year-old.
Right.
And so there was a lot of really bad staffing that I thought took place. And a lot of the questions were around that last night of Inner Circle, where are you? Dr. Jill Biden, where are you?
Right.
These are uncomfortable conversations, but we all have to. And I thought one of the interesting things, going back to your point, Greg, which I think is so important, what people saw and what they connected to emotionally, to the visuals, to the energy, to the voice. I can't tell you how many people I was getting messages from last night who connected it personally to a grandparent,
yes,
to a parent,
right,
to an uncle.
We've all been there.
Declined. Everyone's been there.
Yeah.
And that was if there was a connecting point that all viewers connected to, it was someone who has suffered through that kind of decline.
Right.
And that's tough to make the case that this is the person you want for that 3 a.m. phone call where freedom's on the line.
Right. For the next 4 years.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
nobody's getting any younger in this race.
Well,
and if I can just jump on this thing with Greg, there are a lot of people who are questioning not the 4 years. They're talking about the 8 months he has left in office.
Right.
If this is what's happening on the biggest moment, what's happening on all the other moments? And then the real question. So we know people that are declining in that way, they have good days and bad days. And I've seen this with politicians of all stripes. They have good days and bad days. But the question then becomes, when it's a bad day, who's in charge?
Yeah.
If you're in the middle of a meeting with the Defense Department or the security or IRS or whoever it may be, or the leader of another free nation, and it's a bad day, who's in the room for that?
Right.
And who's driving that conversation? I think that's where people are more worried about the next 6 to 8 months, I think, even than the next 4 years.
Boyd Matheson, thank you so much for joining us, Boyd. There were winners and there were losers. I will say this. Let's end on a happier note. You know who I think a great winner was? I thought the moderators were phenomenal. I thought they asked incredibly insightful questions. They kept everybody on time. The microphone was not a distraction. The crosstalk. I thought the debate was executed in an excellent way. People will say, but they didn't fact check enough. I don't need the fact checking.
They stayed out of the way.
They stayed out of the way. They kept them on time. They asked great questions. Can't blame them if the answers aren't always the best.
And they cut off the golf discussion quickly.
Yeah, exactly.
Get off the
Do you find yourself hiding away during meals with your family and friends? Don't let dentures hold you back any longer. Utah's Best of State winner, Stubbs Dental Implant Center, is here to set you free. Say goodbye to dentures and say hello to the All-On X dental implant procedure, the permanent, life-changing solution that allows you to eat, smile, and laugh confidently once again. Thanks to the newest cutting-edge technology, you can have a brand new, permanent smile in as little as 24 hours. Yeah, you heard it right. Fast forward to finals and let your smile be the one to light up the room. And here's the best part. Your consultation is absolutely free. At Stubbs Dental Implant Center, Utah's #1 dental implant center, they've helped thousands of patients love their smiles again. You could be next. It only takes 60 seconds to start your journey to a happier, healthier smile at StubbsDental.com. That's StubbsDental.com.
Now, the movie show coming up very shortly. We'll kick it off at 11 o'clock, but we're broadcasting live today from NPS. And today we're at the Utah County NPS at 475 North State in Orem. And for those of you who've only been to the Salt Lake store, this is a gorgeous-looking store. It's a little bit different because it looks more like a traditional type store.
Right.
So when you walk in, it looks exactly like you'd expect. But here's the part that you won't expect, and Cecilia will know what I'm talking about here. Cecilia, the store manager. It looks like a store, except for then you look at the prices and you're like, wait a minute, did I walk back in time to when things were less expensive? Or is this somehow 5 years ago before inflation drove up the prices on everything?
I bet the number one question is this right? Is this price right?
Yes.
People ask you, is this really what it is?
Yes, and they always told me that this store is really like it's not like discounted store. It's just look like a retail store.
Because it is a retail store. That's the thing. And that's the biggest thing where people, when they ask me, like, NPS, hey, okay, look, I know you talk about on the radio. Is it really actually good merchandise?
Like you have to dig
or are you
through
just
barrels.
like selling it? And I'm like, no. This is brand new. Yes, you don't have to go fight through barrels of clothes with other people. It's a store. It's a store with 30 to 70% off retail. New stuff, tags still on it. Overstock, refused shipments, those kinds of things. The prices are legit, and the deals that you can get are amazing. And at a time like this, when everything seems more expensive.
And what's good about our NPS is, for example, the customer told us, hey, in Walmart or in Target, this is $5, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to give them, we are doing basically retail to retail price, and then we are giving them 10% more discount.
If they find a price that actually beats NPS, you'll give 5% off of that.
No, 10%.
10% off of that. Wow.
But they will not going to find. This is the, this is
it's
the
a promise you
cheapest.
don't have to keep.
It's a promise you don't have to keep.
Yes.
That's a good way
this
of
is the
putting it.
cheapest in town. So.
Well, we got all kinds of deals that we're going to tell you about, plus some awesome deals for movie show listeners. We always like to save a couple for when we're actually in the movie show. So come check us out at 475 North State Street in Orem, or check out the other NPS locations. They have their own unadvertised specials that are only in store, 1600 South Empire Road in Salt Lake and 1150 North Main in Layton.
Attention talcum powder users. Have you had ovarian or gynecological cancer? A proposed $8 billion plan will pay those who believe they got sick from using talc products like Johnson's baby powder and shower to shower. Johnson & Johnson maintains its products are safe. You have until July 26, 2024 to vote to accept or reject the plan. For more information, visit officialtalclaims.com or call 888-431-4056. Paid for by LLT Management, LLC. Attention talcum powder users. Have you had ovarian or gynecological cancer? A proposed $8 billion plan will pay those who believe they got sick from using talc products like Johnson's baby powder and shower to shower. Johnson & Johnson maintains its products are safe. You have until July 26, 2024 to vote to accept or reject the plan. For more information, visit officialtalclaims.com or call 888-431-4056. Paid for by LLT Management, LLC.
This is my go-to move. I wake up, I throw the AirPods in, and then I open up the KSL News Radio app. I wanted to hear from Tim and Amanda first thing this morning about the debate. I had watched it. I wanted to hear the analysis and the news reports, and that's what I did. It was great. If you're interested in getting the KSL News Radio app, an easy way to download is just text the word app, APP. Text the word app to 57500. That's for the KSL News Radio app.
With the 3 3 things you need to know this hour. I'm Heather Peterson. First, we're monitoring a barn fire in northwestern Salt Lake City. 1 person is injured. Second, the NHL draft is tonight. It'll be Utah's first time taking part with 13 picks. And third, the Supreme Court has upended a 40-year-old decision that made it easier for the federal government to regulate the environment, public health, workplace safety, and consumer protection. Right now, it's sunny and 75 in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Welcome back to the show. Final segment for us on this Friday. Boy, we have had a week. What a week with the primaries. Outstanding results. Still a race to be determined between Celeste Malloy and Colby Jenkins. We're still following that. We expect another release of votes to happen sometime today. They think that about 96% of the votes have been counted in that race.
And it's less than 1,000 votes different. I mean, less than 1%. I mean, it's a nail biter. And I feel sorry for both of them because it's not a position you want to be in.
Oh, just nervous. It's hard enough. And when the hay's in the barn, the votes have been cast, and it's just counting it. I would imagine both Celeste and Colby Jenkins have quite the ulcer right now.
Nobody's sleeping in those families.
Yeah, they've eaten all the Tums, all the Pepto-Bismol as they've been waiting for those results. But on Wednesday, the day after the primary, Celeste Malloy led by 2,900 votes. Now that has been whittled down to about 990 votes so far, so we will continue to track that in the Republican primary. But up next, as we wrap up, let's move over to Steve and Andy. It's the movie guys. Excited for the movie show this week. What do we have on tap?
Well, the big movie of the week, Steve?
Well, we can't tell you because we're really quiet about it. It's a quiet place.
Yeah, we're hand signing it all to you so that we don't alert the aliens.
That makes for good radio, boys.
Yes, seriously.
Yeah, our job would be very obsolete in that real world.
That is okay. I will say, The Quiet Place, the first two, I absolutely loved. I was captivated. I thought the storytelling was incredible. I was connected to the characters. I thought John Krasinski and Emily Blunt were incredible. The kids, outstanding. Okay, this is the third installment of The Quiet Place. What is this one?
Well, it's called A Quiet Place Day One, so it implies that we're going to see.
Except didn't we see Day One in the last one?
Yeah. See, this might be a franchise where the more they do, it's going to kind of take away from what the good experience you had in the first one.
I think you could almost call this a spinoff. I mean, that's what it felt like to me, because the Abbott family is nowhere near this movie. The only person you do see is Jimon Hunsu, who was the leader on that little colony island thing that
in part two
was safe for a while until it wasn't.
Thanks to the girl from the first one.
Yeah, like.
Well, but here's the so for me it was how much more you're going to have to start telling me more about why these aliens are on Earth. Like you've got to, and that's kind of what I was hoping. If this is day one, maybe we're going to find out a little more, or we'd see day one, and like they've done in the series, they jump ahead like day 476 or whatever, and we get. In fact, I almost forgot that Jimon Hunsu. I felt like he was familiar as I was watching the movie.
Yeah, he's barely
in the middle of the night last night.
Well, the other thing, there's a magic cat, so that's amazing. This cat never meows once. He's the smartest cat ever created.
It's a cat that doesn't mind baths, apparently.
They drown the cat. They monsters everywhere, buildings blowing up, and the cat's like, yeah, I'm cool.
Cats are smart. Cats are smart, guys.
This cat is like super cat.
Next level smart.
Yeah, so Andy, what's the big question of the week?
Well, okay, so Dave, Greg, have you seen A Quiet Place? Did you see that one in theaters a few years back?
No,
I know Dave.
I was going to have you describe the genre for this, but I haven't seen one or two, let alone day one, and I apologize.
Okay, no, that's fine.
Greg doesn't go to movies, remember?
Right, not very many.
So the whole point is these aliens hunt by sound, and so if you make any sound, they just like appear out of nowhere, and they kill you. This is another problem with the movie. Why do they kill? Do they eat the people? Because it doesn't seem like they do.
Well, there was one thing where they have this little pod that they open. Was that like an MRE, little Scooby snack that they could go to?
But at any rate, the point of it is you get so intensely involved in the theater that there were people that, like, if somebody crinkled a wrapper or crunched a popcorn watching A Quiet Place, everyone in the theater would like whirl around and look at you like, you're going to make a sound and you're going to get the people on screen found out.
And that's good movie making.
Yes. So we wanted to say, what movie gave you the most intense theater experience that you've ever had?
Let's start off with Greg. Greg?
The most intense theater experience I've ever had was the first hour of The Killing Fields. I've never gone to a movie where I thought, I don't think I can make it through the end. That one was gut-wrenching.
Steve, that's a classic.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that one, that is so emotional. I'll give you one that maybe not quite as heavy.
Sorry, guys.
Greg,
no, but that's an intense theater experience.
Oh my gosh, it killed me.
Well, and obviously that was back in the 80s, right? Early 80s when that came out.
Well, I'm a lot older than you guys, and I do go to movies, Steve. I do go to movies.
But it says it's stuck with you. How about this one for me, guys? Jurassic Park, the original. I've got my legs tucked up underneath me. We got 20 seconds. What about you guys?
Okay, so I do have a Jurassic Park, the kitchen raptors where they're chasing the kids.
Outstanding.
Oh yeah.
But the one that really terrifies me was Georgie trying to chase the little boat into the drain, and Pennywise is there trying to convince him to come and get the boat.
It? Oh,
yes,
my goodness.
and It. Oh.
Steve. Okay, horror movies. Yeah, those are the winners. All right, we're looking forward to the movie show coming up. A Quiet Place, day one. They'll give you the great breakdown. I love the first two. I'll be very, very interested to see what you guys think about this third installment. But no John Krasinski, no Emily Blunt.
KSL FM